The holographic display in the heart of the Xylosian flagship, the Star Weaver, shimmered with a soft azure light. Princess Elara, heir to the vast Xylosian Confederacy, leaned forward, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the data streams. Before her stood a human, a young man named Leo, who had been brought aboard as part of a cultural exchange program. To Elara, humanity was a quaint, energetic, but utterly primitive species. They had only recently achieved rudimentary spaceflight, and their representative, a nervous young man named Leo, was here to learn from the galaxy's true masters. The Confederacy had protocols for such things: patience, gentle guidance, and the sharing of art, philosophy, and science. "Your people's poetry is quite passionate," Elara said, her voice a melodic chime. "The emphasis on transient emotions like love and loss is very elemental. It reminds me of the larval stage of the morphenids." Leo gave a tight smile. He knew the drill. Humans were the cute, clumsy new kids on the Galactic block. The Xylosians and other elder races viewed them with a mix of amusement and detached benevolence. "Thank you, Your Highness," he said politely. "We try." "But I must confess," Elara continued, scrolling through the cultural packet, "your records are remarkably thin on the subject of your own history. Your middle era on your home planet, particularly between the years 1914 and 1945, is almost blank, and the period near the end of the 20th century and beginning of the 21st is described with vague terms like resource reallocation conflicts and technological realignment. Why the secrecy?" Leo's smile faded. He looked at the princess, at her serene alien features, and then at the vast, peaceful armada surrounding them. He knew his mission brief by heart. Humanity's first contact package had been carefully curated. It was filled with Mozart, images of coral reefs, recipes for chocolate cake, and treatises on democracy. It had been designed to make humans seem friendly, harmless, and worthy of protection. The one thing the briefing had strictly forbidden was any mention of humanity's aptitude for war. The old men who had drafted the protocol called it a strategic non-disclosure. Leo took a deep breath. He was a student of history, not a diplomat. He decided the truth, or at least a sliver of it, was the only way. "Your Highness," he began, his voice low, "the data you're reading is a cultural primer. It's not our complete history. It's the story we tell new friends." Ilara's head tilted, a gesture of curiosity. "A children's story? Why would you need a simpler version?" Leo reached into his satchel and pulled out a slim metallic case. It was his personal data tablet, shielded and encrypted. "Because some stories are too complex to be understood without context, and some truths are unsettling." He activated the tablet and placed it on the holographic projector's interface. Access file, operation, echoes of bronze, military history, summary for command personnel. The azure light flickered and was replaced by a cascade of stark, brutal images and text. Ilara's graceful form stiffened. "What is this?" she whispered, her chime-like voice losing its melody. "That," Leo said, pointing to a grainy black and white video of a massive explosion blooming over a city, "is a kiloton-yield nuclear weapon. It was used on 2 of our cities in 1945 to end a global conflict that killed over 80 million of us. The weapon itself vaporized a city of 300,000 people in an instant." Elara stared, her mind struggling to process. The scale was incomprehensible. Global conflict, 80 million dead, a single weapon that could annihilate a city? The data stream continued. Leo scrolled through it. "This is a strategic bomber from that era. It could deliver those weapons. And this," he said, pulling up an image of a B-52 Stratofortress, a plane that was ancient history to him, "is a later model. It could fly for thousands of miles, refuel in the air, and carry enough firepower to destroy a small nation." He swiped again, revealing a photo of rows upon rows of soldiers in jungle camouflage. "These were soldiers in a conflict in a place called Vietnam. We fought in jungles, in tunnels, in the mud. We used chemicals to strip the leaves from trees to expose our enemy." Another swipe, a grainy satellite image of a desert. "A more recent conflict. We called it Operation Desert Storm. We used precision-guided munitions, stealth aircraft, and real-time satellite data to dismantle one of the largest armies on our planet in 100 hours. The phrase we used was shock and awe." Elara was no longer leaning forward. She was recoiling, her delicate hands gripping the arms of her chair. She had never seen such organized industrial-scale violence. The Xylosians had settled their differences with philosophical debates and, in ancient times, with ritualized single combat. This was something.